It's 5:30 and time to call our meeting to order. If you would, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and we have the approval of the minutes from the January 25th meeting. We have had a chance to take a look at these minutes. Anybody have any questions? Any additions, alterations? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
And Mr. Wade?
Yay. And we have a fiscal officers report.
You've had a chance to look at the bills. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering around because the resolution that we've added, is it on here under fiscal or is it on here?
It's not on the agenda,
It's
you have
not.
to add it.
Okay, so look, can we, what's the resolution number on it? Oh, it's right here.
4802, it's a separate piece, so you know
Okay,
it's
so we'll
something
need
new.
to add resolution 4802 before we go on to that, and then I'll say something about that.
Okay, and we'll add that at the end.
You don't need to add it right now? Okay.
In order.
Right, we're gonna add it at the very end.
All
But
right.
do you need to change the agenda, add that to the agenda?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and, note now that we have a motion to add 4802 to the end of the agenda.
Okay.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah.
And I apologize for stuttering around about that, and if I may have to leave early if I do. This is the annual resolution we passed that allows me to ask for an early draw on our first half settlement of taxes. That's all that is,
Okay.
okay? Other than that, no other report, sir.
Very good. Current bills to pay, we have had a chance to look at the current bills. Anybody have any questions of the current bills? Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And anything else, Linda?
Sir?
Okay. And we do have a public hearing scheduled, so I'd like to entertain a motion to recess the regular meeting and open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. Jeff?
All right.
If you would, please.
Yes, we have for you this evening the text amendment that's dealing with swimming pools. It's identified as Exhibit 2015-1. It's looking at fencing standards, power safety pool covers, clarification of the measurements and decks. The last time that we looked at swimming pools were in 2002. At that point in time, there was not a comfort level with the safety pool covers being in lieu of fence. It was added in addition to a fence. Some discussion has occurred from the public, both from vendors and from residents, about is this something that we could look at as a regulation. That's why Resolution 4767 was put into place, initiated the changes. One of the major things that are going on in this text amendment is the automatic pool cover, also called a safety pool cover, that closes over top of the waters. So in essence, once closed, you can't see the water as a deterrent for kids getting into the pool area. When Moore County Regional Planning looked at the recommendation, they had no issues with what was put forth and recommended approval. When this came to the Zoning Commission, had several different hearings from that. There was a couple of debatable issues. Ultimately, they do this heavy lifting before they get to this body. What they were looking at as debatable issues was they looked at the surrounding communities and saw that Warren County had basically the ability to have an automatic pool cover exist, any zoning classification, any acreage. And their big hang up at the zoning commission level is where should they put the threshold for the minimum acreage. Looking at some other jurisdictions, there were half acre, 2 acres, 5 acre type of rationale, additional setbacks imposed and the like. And ultimately, when they went through that discussion, I also requested to know the number of in-ground pools that existed. It became a decision, I guess, discussion point. At what point would anyone retrofit their pool? I think there was some skepticism, so to speak, that if this was put into place as is, tomorrow everyone would come out with an automatic pool cover, realizing they already have an investment in a fence, and they may not choose to put up such a barrier to the property. When they came forth on January the 4th, 2016, they took what was Trustee Resolution 4767 and did 3 major changes. The first was the requirement of a temporary fence around an in-ground pool once it was excavated. This is something that was an improvement from the document. Basically wanted to make sure when you had a hole, then you had a fence around it. What they did change, however, is there was provision for temporary fencing to be around that swimming pool until the landscape and the final fence was put into place. And we were having some issues internally about when would that timing be, and we put a 2-month timeline on that. They took that out, saying that 7 days after you have water in the pool, you should have your final fence. I think that probably comes into more of a stringent standard than what typically can be applied and adhered to. Second element was the pool cover. They took it from above an acre lot size and took it all the way to a 5-acre minimum lot size. The rationale for that was that when you have agricultural activity and you have ponds on 5 acres and greater, that a swimming pool was functioning kind of like a pond at that acreage. Again, they were struggling with where does it fit in, and when you get into neighborhoods, how would individuals actually use the automatic pool cover? Was it something they felt that barrier was as efficient or more efficient than a fence? And there was some discussion, should they change the regulations? Because currently, just to bring you all back up to speed, 'cause I know you play with zoning every day, our fencing requirement for our pool basically allows you to use the back of the house as a barrier. So in essence, you only have to put up 3 sections of fence that the back of your house is used. The intent is to keep individuals from the neighborhood to get into the property and into the pool. It's not set up to actually prohibit individuals from the house to get into the pool. There was a little bit of discussion, was that the appropriate manner to go or not? Ultimately, they left the regulation as is. So knowing that this was something that you initiated and wanted to have further discussion, we do have members from Knickerbocker Pool here who are individuals who install and have information about that. There's also residents in the audience who have such a pool, safety pool cover, and we have conflict that exists, and part of what the regulation is trying to figure out is measurement. Where do you take the measurement so it's an appropriate barrier and the like? Specific case, for this individuals, they have a wraparound porch, and we would take the measurement from the porch grade as opposed to grade of the soil, because you actually made access onto the surrounding wraparound porch. They would have to put a fence that actually is then taller than their banisters to prohibit someone from jumping from their wraparound porch into their area in which their pool is. So this was trying to get at some of those elements to fix some of the inconsistencies or some of the common practices that zoning was trying to figure out between the lines since 2002. So, I have rambled. I can answer questions in the body
Yeah.
before we get into some discussion.
Okay. I read this, and I thought I understood it, now I think I'm confused.
Okay, sir.
All right, so, what recommendation did the zoning board bring to us
Okay.
so far as the acreage?
Okay.
Or did they leave 2 or 3 different ones? I thought it dealt more with a setback rather than acreage.
When this text amendment was initiated, there was a setback that was imposed, that if you wanted to do greater, the current setback requirement is 20 feet. If you wanted to increase that to 50 feet, and you had acreage above an acre, then you had the ability to do an automatic pool cover in lieu of a fence. What the zoning commission did is said it doesn't matter about acreage, anything below 5, you can have as much setback as you want, that's not gonna be an appropriate property to have an automatic pool cover in lieu of a fence.
So under 5 acres, they said that's not the appropriate, if you have less than 5 acres, you cannot use the automatic cover in lieu of a fence.
Correct.
Really?
So that is,
So that's what their recommendation is to us?
that's correct. So your options this evening are to approve their modification, make your own modifications, or deny the process where we currently stand.
Okay. The temporary fence, I don't have a problem with that. I guess I have a problem with, I know you have to close the automatic, to make it safe, you have to do that, but that's obviously something that we would hope responsible families would do, individuals. Okay. All right, I think personally, I don't like that. I think that's, 5 acres is a very large piece of ground. An acre is a large piece of ground, and even half acre is,
I have several issues with it, actually.
Let's hear it.
5 acres, I don't think that's realistic. I don't think 7 days is realistic. I just went through this last summer with a friend of mine, and with the work that's being done and the temporary fencing, once the hole's dug, that's not the last time they're gonna need to use heavy equipment to get into that area. I mean, that happens throughout the process in
Extensive
landscaping. Exactly, I mean, if you use today's landscaping, you're talking about rock, fairly large rocks and things of that nature, depending on the terrain.
And what if the weather's bad?
So,
yeah.
and I think we do work with people in the case of weather. But I read all 42 pages, and I'm still not totally clear on it. But the 5 acre issue hung up with me. I think 1 acre is. I mean, a half acre is a large piece. I mean, you've got 3 of us who have at least 10 acres, and all four on the dome up here. But at that point,
The purpose of this is to provide security
in safety, yeah.
and safety. I've had pools. I moved from a house with a pool because when my kids got old enough to climb the fence that I had around the pool. And you can't keep your eye on them all the time, so in my opinion, that pool cover, regardless of the size of your lot, is a much more effective safety device than a fence. I mean, it just is. Any kid in the world can get over, they'll figure out a way to get over a 4-foot fence. I don't care if it's got spikes on it. So the lot size is not that important to me. And that's, now, certainly a setback from a property line as any other structure would be, I think would be the appropriate setback. I don't know why you change that for a pool, personally. I don't know what you
Neither
guys
do I.
think about that, but, I wouldn't. I think that adds confusion. Now, Jeff, tell me, what's the rationale for changing that? I'm missing something here.
Well, again, coming back to the idea that we were trying to prohibit individuals from coming from a neighbor's property onto your property and
Okay.
get into your pool.
But
Currently
if
set
I
up,
wanna keep my neighbor out, I'll put the fence up anyway.
one way to do that, yes. Again, we're trying to get at the age of children that may not know better. They're looking at the 5-year-old and below. That's what the standards for getting through the fence with the head size
Sure.
and the like. So if you put your fence around your pool, or if you put the fence at the property line, that becomes the barrier that at some point, theoretically, again, use that word, you know that you're trespassing, you've gone over top of a barrier, and now you have a distance between that barrier and the water. So having the 20-foot distance currently, discussion was, well, if we increase the distance, and if someone chose not to have their automatic pool cover closed at the time, that would give a greater distance between the property line and that attractive water source in which to do that. It's a number that other entities have used, but if you guys are comfortable as a body that a pool is a pool, no matter if it's this type of barrier or this type of barrier, then that's easy to enforce.
It takes, okay, so we go to 20 feet to 150 feet, so it takes, instead of 5 seconds, it takes 10 for them to get to the pool. Well, that's interesting thoughts.
Yeah, that's, again, at the end of the day, whatever you're comfortable with.
No, I got you. Well, I know they put a lot of thought into this, and certainly not taking that lightly, but I think we may have missed the boat here a little bit.
I do. I agree.
No pun intended.
No.
They may have missed the cover, I think,
Yeah. My 8-year-old can get over a fence if it's 4 feet high or 6 feet high, I think. So there's that theory, and then there's the theory of, like you said, if they want to get to it, they're going to get to it. If that between 5 and 10 seconds is the difference between them getting to the water or not, the setback, I see the point, but.
I think that pool owners, in many cases, will want a fence around their property line.
Which we currently have at 48 inches.
Correct.
That's not changed.
No, this does not change the height of the fence.
And currently we give them 2 months to put a permanent fence in.
Currently, they have within the year of the permit. We're looking for that to go down to a 2-month timeline from the time which they have water.
2 months I can see, a year, I guess I get.
Well, the zoning permit's good for a year.
Right. No,
So
I
that's
got you.
where we based it. We found that there were individuals who, based upon weather conditions or timing of putting it in the fall, getting that last swim in before the winter, and then we hit spring and we've got some timing issues that maybe we should close that gap. And that was where that rationale came from.
So I've done this with you over the last 4 years a few times. I'm gonna do it again. What are your thoughts?
I think having it below an acre creates some additional, if we're concerned about, I'm concerned about distance from a zoning standpoint. And if we get into the half-acre, quarter-acre lot sizes, that puts a lot of concentration of population, kids and people, that would increase the odds that there may be an issue. I think that everyone tries to do the best thing, but I don't think that everyone locks their gate and doesn't always keep their fence in repair. And if that's what we believe is always gonna solve it, we're probably missing that mark. Having a barrier that closes and you cannot get into it, you cannot see the water, and you cannot climb through when used, seems like a good barrier option, just as we thought a fence was years ago as the only option. To have those as 2 options and have a property owner be the responsible party at the end of the day. And if they want to have a fence, they have that option. If they want a fence and a pool cover, automatic pool cover, they have that option. If they just want an automatic pool cover, I think that gives them 3 options to solve a problem instead of us dictating the only solution to that. So coming down to an acre and above, to me, is an acceptable size.
An acre and above is acceptable size that you can just do the pool cover and not the fence.
Correct. I think going below that may cause some issues, but we can always open it up, and if we find we're having issues, we can throttle it back.
And I don't have the data that you gave us on the number of pools that are in those categories. Do you have that? Excuse me.
So from 1973 through 2015, we had a total of 478 pools that existed. 88 were less than an acre, 253 were between an acre and 2 acres, 61 were between 2 acres and 5 acres, 50 were between 5 and 10, and 26 were above 10 acres. So we still have the majority being at the size that we're talking about of an acre and above.
Right.
Within that group.
And as we move forward, the developments that we're seeing based on our current zoning code, or the way we've got zoning done now, with a few exceptions that I think will pop up in the future, we're seeing a pretty good mix of both above and below, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I would have a question for the gentleman from Knickerbocker Pools.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna break that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Anything else I can add clarity before you guys go into pros and cons?
We could be back.
Yeah,
That's fine.
stay tuned.
Understandable.
Okay.
Steve, you got anything to add at this point?
We have some people in the audience, if you would, like to come up and talk to us and give me your thoughts on this. And please come and identify yourself for the record. Obviously, this is being recorded and filmed, so we'd like to hear from you all.
My name's Nancy Knickerbocker. I'm one of the family owners of Knickerbocker Pools out of Greene County.
My name's Dave Kramer, I'm the general manager for Knickerbocker Pools.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Why don't you start and tell them about other municipalities and surrounding counties that we work in common with?
We're doing more and more auto covers, and the reason we're doing more and more auto covers is people are using the auto cover for their families, for safety, but they're also using it for other reasons, keeping the pools clean, keeping the heat in the pool. 60 to 75% of the heat loss is due to evaporation. Cleaning times, chemical usage, stuff like that. So there's a lot of reasons they're going to keep that cover closed. One of the concerns people have is what makes them close that cover when they walk away from it. It's not just safety, but there's a lot of reasons that they're doing that. Last year we did 22 auto covers on new and ground pools construction. It gives the customer a chance to choose their way of protecting their family. Unfortunately, a lot of injuries or deaths associated with swimming pools don't come from trespassing. Numbers will say it's approximately 2%. So 98% are coming from the house. Areas that do allow auto covers in lieu of fencing, there are some states, Indiana's one of them, Florida one of them, that allow auto covers. Georgia, Colorado, Minnesota, Oregon. Locally, in Ohio, Xenia Township, Sugar Creek Township, City of Beaver Creek, Montgomery County, Butler Township, City of Kettering just passed it this year.
Montgomery County, the whole county, or Butler Township?
Butler Township in Montgomery County, City of Kettering in Montgomery County, City of Moraine, City of Oakwood, Miami Township. Some of those, City of Oakwood, 2 acres or larger lot. City of Kettering just passed it this year, where City of Kettering is allowing an auto cover in lieu of fence, regardless of lot size. Most of the times it's townships, like City of Beaver Creek used to require a 6-foot fence. When they passed it 5-6 years ago, 1 to 2 acres went down to a 4-foot fence. Under an acre still required the 6-foot fence. Over 2 acres, they allowed it to be a 4-foot fence. But then when you get into townships, most of the townships now in Miami County, Bethel, Concord, Monroe, most of them in Miami County are allowing auto covers. They've set theirs at 1.5 acres. But like I said, City of Kettering, we've got it passed in Miami Township for Montgomery County, where auto cover in lieu of fence, no acreage requirement. And then we have some obviously in Warren County, Turtle Creek Township, Wayne Township is under review, Washington Township, Harlan Township.
Then Turtle Creek has no acreage limitation?
I would have to double check that one, I'm not sure.
You know?
Yeah, that's correct, there's no acreage designation for Warren County rural zone.
So we're getting into more and more, the thing about your fencing, the thing about your auto covers is a $10,000 to $12,000 option at an unbuildable cost. And forcing someone to do an auto cover and a fence makes them make a decision a lot of times, because now we're talking $20,000 to $24,000, $25,000 on a project. Sometimes they're picking the fence because they're required to, where they would have preferred to have the auto cover.
Okay.
I have a few things to add, and I'm Nancy also. So I've been getting permits in Warren, in Clearcreek Township for over 20 years, and pretty much all of our counties. Our stores are based in Miami, Clark, Greene, and Montgomery counties, so that's where we build the most, as well as Warren County and then some surrounding counties. And so you may know that our service trucks open and close pools and service swimming pools, and so we're around all the counties most days. And when we open pools, even if the customer says, you know, we've heard it all. They give us all their instructions as to how to get in their yards. Most houses are 2-income families, so people are working during the days. They say, hey, I'm gonna hide the gate key under the rock by the left side of the gate or something like that, or we'll leave the gate open or whatever. Sometimes we'll say, can we come by this week and look at something? Maybe they say, can you come look at our such and such? And we say, can we get in? They say, we always leave it open. Or we'll leave it open for you, or maybe we'll say if we can get by in the next couple of weeks. The point is that we get in 9 out of 10 gates. Now, our guys are trained not to jump gates. If we can't get in a gate, we're supposed to call the homeowner. But most gates are left open for us, or we can figure out how to get in them. We build our own pools with our own auto covers, and our service techs get there and can't get the covers open. The homeowner's supposed to be home to turn the key. I don't know if you know how the key works for an auto cover. The regulation is that you have to be able to see the pool when you open or close the cover, so that you would never close anybody in it, so you can visually see the pool. And so it has to either be on the corner of the house by the equipment so you can see the pool, or sometimes it's by the back deck or something like that. And our own guys can't get in. If it's locked and they're at work, they can't get in. Most people seem to leave keys for gates hidden around the yard, so if we call the homeowner at work, they can tell us how to get in. And obviously, teenagers could figure that out too, or ones that live in the neighborhood. Another topic I wanted to touch on is when someone buys a house with an existing 3-foot fence or a split rail fence, and when they buy the house, they don't know that they want a pool. When we see that someone's buying a house with a 3-foot non-conforming fence, swimming pool fence, we're like, oh no, we have to go through the fence thing, because especially in an affluent county like Warren County, there's a pretty good chance they're gonna want an auto cover, and then we're gonna go into the debate about auto and fence or what. Especially when it's a large property that's 2 acres or more that has horses. You guys have horses down here on a lot of properties. And so if they already have the split rail fence that keeps horses in or something like that, it doesn't meet swimming pool code. And so then they want the auto cover and then more fencing. And so then sometimes it gets too cumbersome with the whole project and the additional expense. And it's not a small yard defense, it starts being a very large yard defense. And then they say, to heck with the whole project, let's take the family to Hawaii. And we don't like to hear that. You know, of course we want to build a pool, but we want people to swim, we want people to learn to swim. My home is in Greene County, and with our county closing and demolishing our last 2 outdoor county pools in recent years, I live in Beaver Creek, they closed our Beaver Creek Y. There are fewer and fewer public pools for families to grow up and live at. That's not true in all counties, but it seems to be how a lot of that is going, with small community pools where people used to walk to the pool. So if they don't learn to swim, what our industry has not really projected forward is, jump forward 20 or 30 years, these kids who didn't learn how to swim grow up, they go to college, they get invited out to a lake event, there's an accident, they don't know how to swim. So that's the long-term effect of people do need to learn how to swim, because it's a life skill.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
Oh.
We can't
Okay.
make people teach the kids to swim, but we
okay,
agree
but
with
it
you.
is an advantage of having a pool, and all this plays
No,
into that.
That's not what we're here for.
What are the
Tell
last
us-
things
tell-
about?
Wait a minute. Tell us about what your opinion is of this situation,
Yeah,
or some specific numbers, or go ahead and move on.
okay, so, in other counties, Warren County is the only one that has a penalty for not passing a final inspection on a swimming pool project, whether it's a new home with a pool and a fence and things like that. It's a $200 penalty if you don't pass final inspection, which means if the homeowner does not comply, we can't make the homeowner put up a fence. It's in our contract that it's the responsibility of the homeowner. So Jeff can't make him put it up, I can't make him put it up. The homeowner can tell me they're gonna put it up, and it's up to them. In other counties, what we see is non-compliance. If they have a big lot and it's far off the road, and they won't let the county electrical inspector come in to do the final inspection, they say, yeah, we're working on the fence. We go back year after year opening and closing this pool. It's not really any of our business, but we know they didn't build a fence.
Right.
So, and the last thing is that when there's a township or a city that does not have any writing in their code for auto covers in lieu of fence, there's a very high frequency of allowing it through variances. So then, we just know to tell the homeowner, let's apply for a variance. There's a pretty good chance in many areas they do get approved these days, so.
One of the biggest numbers that we know right now, auto cover being properly installed on a swimming pool, not one death has taken place in the United States. Not one drowning death.
Let me, you mentioned 22, you guys did 22 auto covers last year. What kind of percentage is that? So is it 10% of your total pools, is that growing every year, more auto covers?
More and more auto covers every year. I mean, 10 years ago, we were putting 5 or 6 on.
Okay.
Now we're doing 20. I assume that this year will be over 50% of our pools installed without auto cover.
That's about
It was like 1 out of 10 years ago, and now it's like 4 out of 10,
excellent.
not quite half.
I think they're a great idea.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Any questions that you have specific for auto covers?
No. I don't think so. Or I know, you guys.
No, he answered.
You have those for ponds?
I'm sure we can put one on.
I'd be glad to. Yeah. Okay. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. My name is Carrie Lafer. I live right down the street here at 420 Fitch's Farm Court. And my husband and I have been back about 3 times to kind of discuss this issue. And I appreciate them coming and you guys hearing this out. We built a pool. We chose an auto cover. They are correct, it's about $7,000 difference between a solar cover. Just to kind of give you a chance to see, we live on almost about 1.8 acres. And our pool, you can almost not, we live on a cul-de-sac, so our pool you can almost not see from the cul-de-sac and where our house is, because our house almost buries that. We have a shed that sits right next to the pool that's locked, so you'd have to get into the house to get keys to the shed, to figure out the key to the pool cover, and to do all of that, and I am the problem that's fence against fence, that you guys are asking for, because of, we have a wraparound porch, and there's 11 inches difference, we need 48 inches, and we have 37 from the lip of where the concrete is that somebody can climb over. So we're just asking, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask, as technology continues to grow and where we live, to have an auto cover. We picked it, I have a 1-year-old child, and I understand we're not in the business to teach swimming, but my daughter and I are in swimming lessons.
Sure.
Because of all of that. So I'm an insurance agent, so I'm pretty conservative, and I chose the auto cover because of all the research we did, and I know that, to me, everything that I've seen, it's safer than the fence issue. Because of, again, I'm an insurance agent, I see storms, I see all of these different things as far as liability, and when somebody comes to me and says, hey, we have a pool, I've got the conversation, then here's your liability, this is what we need to do to protect that. But everything that we've done and all the research that I've seen is this is much safer. It's why we chose that. You know, anybody can climb the fence, and people don't lock it. You just heard them, and I'm on properties a lot as well, taking pictures and those types of things. So I think that the acre or more is fine, and when it comes down to liability for a homeowner, you know, we have to have more due diligence in that. But I think you see these people with pools will. And that's why we chose it.
If I have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, I also think the automatic pool covers are much, much safer than fences. I think I've said that. And her issue with her fence, if we change this to a 1 acre, then in her particular case, because she's got 1.8 approximately, that will certainly fix her situation, but, you know, we don't want to just fix that one, we want to make the whole thing better. I don't have, you know, truthfully, I think, quite honestly, if you have that pool cover, I personally don't think you even need a fence. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't
We're
think
sitting
that-
here listening to the numbers, no deaths with a pool cover, but we know there have been with just fences. Because solar covers aren't the barrier.
I do think that in most rational, reasonable peoples, if they live in on one of our 1 acre tracts, what's the average size of the lot, for example, at, on 48 on the east side?
Winding Creek.
Winding Creek?
Winding Creek.
That's,
You're a quarter acre, it's a third
If
of
you
an acre
put a
lot.
pool on a quarter acre lot and you put one of theirs in, one of the automatic locking safety covers, you're probably still gonna have a fence around your house, whatever we allow. I expect,
Yeah, and
for privacy and.
individuals may choose to do that for privacy, that's what I was gonna add in there, because. of
And they can do that, and they can also
Beneficial.
put in for safety, and if they have kids, they very well may. Anyway, I'm leaning towards not even having a fence as a requirement if they have these, a certified, whatever meets all the things that you mentioned in there, and you're writing from the standard of a fence, of safety, so you can't get it open. All of the things that they've talked about. And
regardless of lot size.
regardless of lot size. Personal opinion.
I've always found that the 48-inch fence, again, the same friend that did it last summer, it's a metal fence and you can reach through and open the lock yourself or reach over it. I've always thought that to be kind of funny because any child 6 and above is tall enough to reach up there and open that gate. To me, and they don't wanna hear this, if you're gonna have a fence, it should be 6 feet and the lock should be that high, if you're trying to prevent those things. I mean, that even gets back to the setback issue. It's harder to climb a 6-foot fence than it is a 4-foot fence, but, I think that, you know, I would agree, that I think people would, on their own, put fences in on the smaller lots, which would solve part of that issue. And I wouldn't have a problem with lifting the lot size restriction as well, and just not have one, as long as it's complies with all of the requirements.
What do you think, Steve?
I think certainly for the larger lot sizes, it's a no-brainer. Let's go with just the cover, that's fine. I don't know that, for the quarter acre, I don't know that I would or wouldn't. Yeah, I'd say we can always go down.
Half acre was what was sticking to my head, saying maybe that's a good, because you start talking into the smaller lots and it's a different dynamic altogether.
Well, we certainly have some, Warren County's rural zoning that does a pretty good percentage of the county, Franklin Township, Franklin Township, Clearcreek Township, and others.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 of the 3 touches.
Yeah. Did
Allow
you-
the requirement. Wayne Township is currently rewriting their code, which is based upon Warren County's. So I
So
anticipate they're gonna be comparable.
Our neighbors will not have a lot size. Not that we have to do what our neighbors do, but there's some rationale for not, in my opinion, and going across, being surrounded by those that don't, there's nothing wrong with some consistency there. Not that we've ever always tried to be consistent with them, we don't, and we know. Does anybody else have any comments on this out there, by the way? Anybody else got any viewpoints? School?
Yeah, I'm just curious, I keep hearing the 5 acre, I thought that was a really good analogy, because water's a natural hazard, it just is. If you got a ditch, if you got a creek, it's a natural hazard, we're not gonna fence everything
Right.
that we've got out on our properties. So did I hear you say that if you have 5 acres or more, you're gonna have, what's it, between a pond and a pool, you don't need a fence? Is that what I heard you say?
That was what the zoning commission came to, was the rationale for the 5 acres.
So
because
anything over 5 acres, we're no longer gonna require a fence? Is that,
As their current draft, that is correct.
okay, that makes total, because I agree. I mean, what's the difference between my house having a pool and Steve's house having a pond?
We don't have a deep end at the pond. It's all shallow.
But when kids drown, it's not in a deep end typically, you
Wow.
know? I guess,
That's a
maybe
fair
it's the
point.
libertarian in my blood, but I think the more government gets involved in our lives, it's not always for the best.
No, I mean, that's been ringing through my head this entire time. I think they overthought this. That's my opinion. I mean, I always try to turn the tables and say, if I was gonna put a pool in tomorrow, what would I do? And
One of those. in.
And I put a
put
cover
your
in.
cover
Yeah,
in.
if my requirement by my township is that I'm gonna have a fence or a cover, I'm gonna put a cover in.
But my point to you on that would be, what's the difference, and not to pick on Ed's family, John Wade's got a Clearcreek, in the tributary Clearcreek that runs through his backyard.
So do
Are we
I.
gonna tell, exactly, we both do.
Yeah.
Are we gonna start fencing in Clearcreek? Because Clearcreek certainly has more water in it than my pool does. And when the creek starts rushing,
No, I
spring-
don't,
you know what I'm
I don't
saying?
disagree with that. Generally, it's an accessibility issue at that point, in my eyes. I mean, Steve's Pond is fairly close to the road. My creek is 400 yards off the road.
John Wade's goes right
So,
underneath the road, you
yeah.
know?
So, I mean, well, like I said, I always try to turn the tables and say, the fence requirement, if we've got something else that's better, and that's what this is, I mean, it is that simple as it gets. That's better.
Better in my opinion.
I think we,
I
yes,
have a question.
Yes, sir.
A lot of these people have had pools for years, they have no covers, okay? $7,000, I can't see them paying $7,000. Now, maybe I'm wrong, if they've already got a pool. Am I right? I mean, I
We're
I
not-
wouldn't.
You wouldn't, would you?
I got a pool, I'm not gonna, well, and I've got a lagoon style pool. I don't think you make.
So what are you gonna do
How
with
in the
those
world would you
people?
do that?
Are you gonna make them do it?
No,
Oh, no.
No, not then.
We
no,
already
this
have
is,
fences because
They-
that was.
yeah, the fences,
They
yeah,
already
there's,
have
there,
Yeah.
yeah, we wouldn't retroactively make them
You're
all
gonna
do
let that
that.
fence do for them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Fence would do for
Yeah.
it's an either or.
Yeah.
Right.
I just misunderstood you. I thought you said.
No, yeah, we're not gonna make them go by,
Regular
no,
coverage, that's it.
no. No,
I would just like to clarify that we're talking, it's a given that when it's over 5 acres, there's gonna be ponds and things and large properties, it's easy to not have a fence. But to go back to the, we'd like to see in lieu of fence on any size or half acre or 1 acre as the
sure,
specialty
We're
tonight.
with
Okay.
yeah,
We're thinking the same
Yeah,
idea.
okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Or I am.
I am as well, I didn't start this conversation thinking lifting it all together and having, but the more I think of it, the more it makes more sense to me, that it's, and when I think about Winding Creek and I think about some of the other developments that we have,
And just to let you guys know, one of the first ones that I set in, there was a resident here from Winding Creek, and the board asked him what he would choose, and he said, I would in a heartbeat choose the auto cover. I don't want the fence. I don't know if that matters, but. he
well, I think that's a
again said-
personal preference, yeah.
Right,
I mean,
that's a
that's the
absolutely.
part of the fence restriction that some people don't care for.
Right,
Is that
right.
they don't like the idea that they have to put a fence up and, you know, they don't always, they put something up, but it's not, to me, it's not what I would put up if I was putting a pool
And I
up,
would
but,
point out that Winding Creek has huge ponds with no fences around.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
All the way up to people's backyards.
Yeah.
And you could have a 1/4 acre lot surrounding, you know, you'd have 20 properties like that surrounding it. I'm not quite sure about the Clearcreek Township neighborhood, but,
You're right,
yeah.
you're right. Okay, well, before we, any other discussion, we have to adjourn the public hearing, go back into the regular meeting, and then hopefully we'll have a motion and some more discussion if necessary. Any other discussion for the public hearing purposes? Okay, so a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
second?
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay?
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Okay, reconvening our regular meeting at approximately 6:12. We've had considerable discussion about the swimming pool and their fencing setbacks and safety features in general. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the resolution from the zoning board, or alter it and change it however what we have discussed tonight in some fashion or another. I think we can probably put that together. If somebody would like to start, we can.
I would make the motion to alter this to reflect, I guess, 2 pieces. The first piece would be to go to 2 months for the fencing issue. And then the next piece, I'm not totally sure that we're in agreement on at this point, but I would lift the restriction for fencing, or the restriction for, in lieu of, Jack doesn't agree apparently, but, at any lot size, just remove the restriction.
If there is a.
If there's a pool cover, yes.
And it is a certified,
Right.
absolutely.
Right, which is what, that's what this does spell that out.
Correct.
The power safety cover, item 2 in,
Spells it out very clearly.
And there are multiple manufacturers of those.
yeah,
Let me specify there, I found this summer with Logan County that they were the first ones who asked us for a copy of our ASTM national certification rating. And I actually liked that, I thought it was pretty smart, because really any 2 guys in a truck, ABC pool company that you've never heard of, can come in, and right now there is a handful in the United States of auto cover manufacturer companies, and they are the big ones, and they are all nationally certified for safety. But it always kind of worries us that someone's going to try to make one and pass it off at a lower cost. We don't get the pool sale, we don't get the cover sale, because it's all shady.
Yeah.
And I don't want Jeff to have to approve a permit
It's in here,
that
it's in here as
shade.
well.
So if you just
Yeah.
ask for the manufacturer's ASTM rating, then you know it's gonna be one of the nationally ranked ones.
Yeah, and I think that's in this resolution.
Okay.
And we want, definitely, we agree 100%. I'm sure. I don't want somebody trying to develop their own.
See somebody put a pulley on off the front of a ATV. That pretty much covers it, does it not?
Yeah, this is what was discussed, so it's the same setback as current, so 20 foot, so there's no change. Any acreage has the ability to have automatic pool cover that meets the specification of SCM F1346-91 or as amended, and if not, then they meet the current requirements of the 48-inch fence. So, and I understand the expectations for the temporary fencing, so I can make those two changes.
This would be comparable to Turtle Creek and other townships around us.
Turtle Creek, Turtle Creek, Franklin are currently underneath Warren County rural zoning, so it's comparable to those. Wayne is currently reviewing their regulations.
You're gonna put that in the form of?
I did, I said, yeah,
motion?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second it. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay.
Mr. I'm sorry, Mr. Gabbard?
Yay,
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Okay,
thank you all.
thank you. Appreciate your comment. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is under unfinished business. We have anything to bring up at this point? Nothing? And under new business, we have administration resolution 4798. Resolution adopts the operation and governance for electric application. Jack, you want to talk about that?
This does not involve pool covers. Just to
Oh, well,
clarify.
not necessarily.
It could help pay for the movement of them.
Hey, before we do this, why don't we jump from the agenda here? I see Barney's here. As Barney, right, do you have anything, would you like to address us?
If I could for just a moment.
Okay.
Sure.
Introduce yourself, and then we'll go on, because we've got quite a few things here, and maybe you might not want to see.
Appreciate that very much. As you observed, my name's Barney Wright. I am a trustee of the Loeb Foundation, and I'm also a candidate to become the next Warren County Treasurer, and I want to touch on both of those things for a minute. First of all, I want to commend your staff and police and fire areas for their cooperation as we've processed Loeb Foundation grants over this last 20 years plus, and indicate that I've enjoyed the opportunity to work with them. We feel really privileged to be able to be involved in a thing that does as much as Doc had set up to be able to do. It's been a great thing for the county. The foundation has given away between $300,000 and $400,000 a year since 1993 when it was set up, and we've appreciated the opportunity to work with your people to help improve the lives of citizens of Warren County. And then in keeping with my own candidacy, I just wanted to say that I know that Jim Alman and his predecessors have established some great operations there in the treasurer's office. It's our intention to maintain that, and I certainly wanted to let you all know that if you have any questions or comments or concerns, or you hear from citizens that they do, we anticipate responding to those in the way they have been in the past, and we hope to perpetuate the quality service that our residents have come to
We
expect.
appreciate that. Now, as I recall, you are running unopposed, and Jim is retiring.
That's correct. Jim is my campaign manager and has been a great support. We're
It's always nice.
it's very nice. We're looking to maintain the existing office staff and to provide for a smooth transition.
I'm sure you will.
So we think that there's some very good things that have been happening. We want to keep that train on the track.
I had not heard that you were running unopposed, so congratulations.
My opponent withdrew, and out this time last month, so we're, you know, that's in the Republican primary, obviously, and then there's, no one's filed for any other party, so.
Very
looks
good.
like they'll be unopposed.
Well, good luck, and hope you have
Thank you.
easy sailing continues.
Like I say, I look forward to serving the citizens of Warren County.
Thanks for your
Thank
work
you.
with the Loeb Foundation as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's, it really is a joy to be able to be involved in those kind of
I'm
things.
sure it is.
Doc did a great thing.
Yes, he did. Yes. Thanks a lot,
Thanks.
Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that, little variance from this, but, talk to us a little bit, John, about this document and what the progression of steps are here for this.
So this plan of operation and governance for the electric aggregation is a required document that PUCO receives from you, approved. It outlines how we're going to be the aggregator, buy the supply, do the opt-out notices, a few other things about how this would flow through. So this would get sent to PUCO, I think it's about a 30-day lag between when we turn this in and can keep moving. What happens next is the brokers, energy alliances, would get some pricing. So they're gonna start to get some pricing to bring back to you. So when you're ready to go and PUCO certifies you as an aggregator, then we would be ready to act on a good price. You would probably authorize me to sign that when we get a rate, because it'll be about a 24-hour turnaround. It's a commodity, it doesn't stick for very long, you know, it's here one day and then the price may change. Pricing is advantageous right now, so we're trying to get the price in place as soon as possible. It's as low as it's been in a while. It would look like, could be a 1-year rate structure, a 2-year rate structure, 3 years is the max. So I don't know what it'll look like yet. They'll give us some options. So you have some options, you'll have some different suppliers to consider. When a price is picked and we're moving forward, everybody would get 2 different opt-out notices. If you're eligible, you're automatically signed up. If you're eligible, you get a notice that says, here's your chance to opt out, another notice. If you don't opt out, you get a final notice from your utility. Could be DP&L, it could be Duke, it depends whose territory you're in, that says you're moving over to this rate, just so you know, in case you didn't sign up for it. Here's your notice from us. Then the rate takes effect about a month after that. It takes a cycle to go through your billing. You can opt out at any time. There's no termination that's going to be part of their pricing. You can get in at any time. It's going to be what they call a revolving door. So if you move into the township mid-term, you could get into the program. If you move out or just want to get out, there's no cost to leave.